See, when you ask for help and you get the wrong direction, it'll take you down. Like, I look at everybody, I go, wait a minute, Jeff Bezos, why not me? Like, he's got 24 hours in a day. What makes him better? I'm gonna always ask questions, stay humble. And I'm just gonna always be that guy asking questions. Always be curious. I can say, listen, you could have a bad hour, maybe a bad day, but you can't have a bad week, a bad month. You can't have a bad year. You know, otherwise there's something wrong with you mentally. There's a time for that. If you could live below your means for about 5 years, you'd be surprised what can happen. And you know, here's the thing. Very wealthy people, they don't think about making money, they think about keeping money. What's reoccurring? How much am I gonna make in compound interest?
I mean, thank you so much, brother, for doing this. A long time in the making. We've been exchanging chats, I want to say for a year now. Dave introduced us to marketing. Amazing keynote today, amazing presentation. I want to start with this question. How are you different from others? How did you race all the way to the top among so many people? You mentioned how many competitors you have in Arizona?
570 in Phoenix.
570. How are you different from your competition?
Well, a couple of things. Number one is I think I was way more humble. So I'd ask for help. And I'd always ask for help. And I got lucky. I found a few of the right people, a lot of the wrong people. See, when you ask for help and you get the wrong direction, it'll take you down. But if you do the right questions to the right people, it'll get you way faster. But number two, a lot of people just want a lifestyle business. They don't dream big. They're like, oh, if I did $2 million, I'd be happy. I'm like, you know, I look at Elon Musk and I go, why not me? Like, I look at everybody, I go, wait a minute, Jeff Bezos, why not me? Like, he's got 24 hours in a day. What makes him better? In 2000, he had to borrow $1 million for 20% equity in Amazon. It was in 1996. Like, why not me? So this whole question of like, they're not better. Like, I hold myself up to the highest regard. You know, there are times that I didn't, but now I do. And so I've stayed humble. I don't care how wealthy I become. If I become 6% body fat, if I become, you know, perfectly aligned with Jesus Christ, I don't care what it is. I'm going to always ask questions, stay humble, and respect people the same way, because people help me out a lot, but they walked all over me too. So now I feel like I'm just humble, and I'm just going to always be that guy asking questions. Always be curious.
Love it. You know what's funny? I talk to a lot of guys with different sizes, and usually people who make first couple millions, you know, the pride comes and settles early on. It's like, oh, I'm $3 million company. We have a guy behind the scenes right now. He actually told me the other day, he said, when I was doing $2-3 million, I thought I'm a shit, right? And then you go to 10 million and you're like, oh, I'm nothing. Like, there's so much more to go. Like, it opens your eyes. Take me through your journey in different sizes, different levels. What was the hardest, like, you know, first million, 5 million, 10 million? What was the hardest size as a milestone of your business? And what kind of sizes do you identify? Like 5, 10, 20, 50, 100?
Yeah, so right now we're just passing 250 million, but I'm more proud of the fact we're at 25% profit. So a quarter of that money first is profit. The hardest part was not doing the work yourself, because I learned how to do the work. I learned how to be a technician, even though I started my own company. I made a lot of mistakes, and then I needed to trust somebody else, and they never did as good a job as me. The days that I got off the phone, the booking rates dropped. The days that the jobs were done, the sales would drop. So hiring your first few employees and knowing they're never going to be as good as you is hard, because you're like, I lose money by giving you some of the jobs. But 80% of what you could do in getting 1,000 of those people is, think about it. If I got 1,000 people doing 80%, that's 800 of me.
Yep.
So I had to come to realization with that. When I first started out, I think the one thing that made me different is I got obsessed with marketing. Like, all I thought about is how to make the phone ring. How do I make leads come in? I think most people are like, how do I do good at work? How do I recruit? You know, how do I sell better? All I focused on was making the phone ring off the hook. And I did that through having the best reputation. Most people ask for 1 review, I ask for 4. You know, I say, can you leave me one on Google, Yelp, Nextdoor? Can you do this? Can you do that? And then I find out the HOA president's number. Then I get both neighbors and I go knock on the door. And so people always ask, are you the best salesman in the company? I'm like, well, you work for me, so I sold your ass.
Mhm.
And then number two, I say, you're gonna outsell me in the beginning, possibly, but I'm also gonna get the brother's number that lives down the street. I'm gonna get the HOA president. They're gonna give me the whole HOA because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to ask. But yeah, then there's different levels, and you got to start delegating more, trusting more, having checks and balances. A couple of things changed over the years, like performance, getting dialed in with your numbers. At 20 million, I knew how to make money and revenue, but I didn't know how to keep it. A lot of people are so focused on revenue instead of profit. And it's hard to be focused on both because it's kind of like working out. You're trying to gain muscle, or you're trying to cut up, right? So when you're trying to cut up, you're trying to focus on profit. When you're trying to gain muscle, you're focused on revenue. It's hard to do both. Gain a lot of muscle and get ripped at the same time, it's hard. So you got to kind of go into this year saying, I'm going to focus. And I say if you're not making at least 10%, focus on profit. If you're over 10%, you're trying to grow and take market share, just don't fall below 10%.
Well, what was your darkest year in business? Did you have a year when you were ready to quit, didn't want to do it no more, stressed, maybe something
I
happened?
had a couple really tough moments. I wouldn't say years. To have a bad year would be, I can say, listen, you could have a bad hour, maybe a bad day, but you can't have a bad week, a bad month. You can't have a bad year. Otherwise there's something wrong with you mentally. Someone dies, I get it. That it could be a struggle in your life personally, but you can't have a bad year in business. So, a couple bad times were when I had to break up with my partner in 2010. I knew that the business would never grow. There would be animosity if I tried too hard because he just didn't work as hard as me. He was lazy.
Were you 50-50 or what?
Yeah, 50-50. 2007, we started 2010. We were losing money. So I said, you could take the business and take the debt, or give me the business and I'll take the debt. That was very hard. My best friend, my roommate, my business partner. So that
Why were you losing money? Like, what's your, because he was not working hard?
we took on Yellow Page ads and we owed on that, and then we had marketing.
You were paid for marketing?
We were paying for like our rents and car payments, and like I wouldn't say we were losing a bunch of money, but we owed people money, and we just weren't making a very good profit because we ran all the work too. We didn't have a lot of employees. We had a couple guys that would install doors for us. But we weren't like losing tons of money. So I just said, listen, man, whatever you want to do. And he said, he understood. And he said, I want to move to Montana anyway. So another hard time with my buddy came in and said, you got to close 4 of your markets because you're bleeding. That was a really tough day. Another tough time was when I told my GM we're switching to Service Titan, and he was pissed off and he cussed me out. He didn't want to talk to me for the week because he had worked really hard to set up our CRM. And I said, no, this one's better. So he almost thought I was shitting on all of his hard work, but it wasn't. I just knew it would be better. But with these tough conversations, these tough days, they define your character. And I think people don't understand, the better you get at flexing the muscle of fierce conversations and the tough ones, the better you're going to be. My company's not a family. We're a high-performance team. If they were family, for your business, you don't love everybody like mom and dad. You can't say it's a family, because when you fire somebody, you don't fire family. I mean, sometimes you have to, but you're going to like take care of them and figure out a way to pay for their stuff still. So I say we're a high-performing team and we got to work well together. And I had to change that because I used to say we're just a family. And I'm like, well, you don't really fire family. Not often, at least. So business is going to be tough. It's going to be hard. Only 4% of the population are hunters. Most of them are just good farmers. They want to plant their seeds and just, if I make $100,000 a year, I'm happy. And I tell a lot of people, you shouldn't be in business. You should not be in business. Look at your life. It's falling apart. You've been doing this 10 years and you're not making any money. You're making a good living, but you don't even get to you go to your son's baseball games, but you don't even watch them. You're on your phone stressed out. You work weekends. You never really go on vacation. Like, go somewhere that you could actually put your work jacket up, because listen, it's hard. Business is not easy.
It's not. How do you fight complacency in your employees? Do you believe that employees have life shelf? I hate to use that word to people, but like, every sales rep stays in sales 5 years and then something breaks and they just don't become complacent, don't produce anymore or quit and don't want to sell anymore because it's stressful. Like like how long people stay in your company?
Yeah, well, the problem is I'm growing too fast. And I tell them this. I tell a lot of my core people, I'm like, you might not be around because I'm growing too fast. I'm reading too many books. I'm podcasting too much. I got too many consultants. You're not asking me. You're not asking me what book should I read. You're not asking. You're not listening to the podcast.
Staying behind.
So the problem is I'm outgrowing you. It's my lid is going so much further than yours. So unfortunately, I've worked people way too many hours for them to grow. I've had people that have to work 70 hours a week to keep up. So how are they supposed to work on themselves? Now I tell people, what would you like? What courses do you want to take? Whatever you want, I'll pay for it. What kind of coaches do you need? At least my highest level management. And I tell my technicians, I give them performance pay. If they make Pinnacle gets harder every year, but you can earn equity in the business. And I let them know that this is going to change your life. It's going to change the destination of your entire family. Think about this. If you're a technician and you could get $400,000, it's going to be in about a year and a half. What would $400,000 deposit into their bank account do? It doesn't sound like a ton of money, but these guys, some of them make 300 grand a year, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know how. My job is to try to teach them how to manage their money more.
I mean, a lot of lawyers, a lot of doctors in this country, they go to school, they go to work, they make great money. They never, ever save anything. They have debt. And do you feel like it's a problem as a whole country that we have big lack of financial education? Like, because, we don't they don't teach it. They don't teach how to, it's almost like someone wants people to stay in debt, like on the highest level, because that's why we don't have financial education in our schools.
Yeah, well, it would really depress the economy if we didn't go spend the money. Why do you think the government gives a stimulus check? Why do they think they call it a stimulus check? They give everybody money. They know you're going to go spend it.
Yes.
And if you go spend it, you're turning over the economy. You're actually turning dollars over.
But you as a business owner, you're telling them, hey, here's your check, save it, put it.
No, I say, look, here's your check going into your business account or your personal account.
Yeah.
You could afford, we look at the amount of money. This much goes out into your retirement. This much goes into your first house you're going to buy. This much goes into your vacation. This leftover money is what you could spend. This is how much it takes. It's called delayed gratification. Wasn't that long ago, I own an apartment complex, 19 units. I got another one, 12 units, not big. I moved into my apartment complex for 4 years to be close to my technicians that were training. I drove a Nissan Titan 2012, salvage title, 300,000 miles on it. I own 7 other houses. I could have bought a Ferrari. I could have lived in a mansion. I don't care. People would come to my house and I'd be like, yeah, it's 900 square feet. Come stay with me. They'd be like, why do you live here? I'm like, because I don't freaking care. I just don't care. I'm not here to impress you. I will say living in a big, beautiful house, if you want to make a lot of deals happen and you're buying companies and you want to entertain people, it's good. But there's a time for that. If you could live below your means for about 5 years, you'd be surprised what can happen. The problem is all these guys, they want the nice watch. They want to dress in the nicest clothes. They want the filet mignon. They're going to buy a brand new car. You know how many people in Scottsdale live with their mom and drive a Porsche? It's just that you're trying to impress other people. And I've never had to do that.
How do you teach that? How do you teach to spend, to last, to live beyond the means? Is it your parents? Is it how you grew up? Because I feel like, a lot of immigrants, a lot of people who have never had it in their life, they start a business, first money, the first opportunity they have to start treating them, I deserve it. I work too hard.
That's what a lot of business owners do is they say, we deserve this second house. But I explain what depreciating means. And, here's the thing. Very wealthy people, they don't think about making money. They think about keeping money. What's reoccurring? How much am I going to make in compound interest? And I have these meetings once a week with my entire staff. And I do these interviews and I explain to them my philosophies. And I tell them all, you could be rich and wealthy too. First, you got to define what wealthy means to you, because a lot of people want these crazy outlandish stuff. But why do you want that? But first of all, figure out what you want in life. Then let's reverse engineer how to do it. And the way that I motivate my people is say, you told me you wanted this, and all I'm giving you is the KPIs at work to be able to accomplish it. So you can't teach it to everybody, but what it takes is constant reminder. If I constantly was telling you something and proving it to you, eventually you start catching on and you start agreeing with me. Because after you wake up and you still have no money, all we'd have to do is sit down and say, let's just do this little financial thing for a month. You're spending $40 at Circle K. You're buying a big gulp, you're buying a pack of cigarettes, and you're buying 2 bologna sandwiches. If you go to the store, you can get that done for 15 bucks. Like, we just got to plan out, where are you spending this money? One guy says, I got to get my wife a boob job. I go, you're making 200 grand a year? Your rent is $1,200? You don't have a retirement account? You don't have any savings? I'm going to give you the next 2 days off. I'm paying for your little 2 days off. You're going to go start a Roth IRA. This is before we had a 401k. And I said, Eric, dude, you're making more money than I've ever thought possible. And you don't have any savings? Because your wife needs a boob job? And I'm like, then get her a boob job, but not till you get 20 grand in the account. Like, some people, they want to make money because they're trying to figure out how to spend it. See, my rule has never been make more money to figure out how to spend it. That's the wrong way to think. Like, if you want, people say, oh, if I won the lottery, and they think about all the things they would do, that's why they go broke.
Agreed. A relationship with debt, and what's your take on that? Are you team Ramsey or team Grant Cardone? Famous debate, right? So one is save.
No, well, Dave Ramsey talks to the average American.
Correct.
You know, if you learn how to use leverage, the real deal is, if I go and buy 1,000 houses, about 40% down, I borrow 60%. That's making me money. Now, if I take debt out on a credit card, I'm paying 22%. That's ridiculous. I can never. Einstein said the most powerful thing in the universe is compound interest. When it's working for you. So Dave Ramsey says, listen, Dave Ramsey owns a bunch of stuff. He's not the average everyday American, but when he's talking to everyday Americans, when I was 16, I sat down on my cousin's red Corvette, Ryan, and he said, how much money can you afford to put away a month? I said, probably 50, 60 bucks. I was a lifeguard and a busboy. He said, can you get to 300? I said, I could. He goes, let's go start a Roth IRA. Right now in my Roth IRA, there's over $1 million. I haven't been able to put money in since I was 27. I put 300, then I started maxing it out when I was 21. Do you know what it'll be worth when the time I'm 60? And that's prepaid taxes, so it's tax-free. Because he helped me out. He just gave me one clue. Put 300 bucks when you're 16 in per month. Dave Ramsey's great for most people. They need to hear, because what do? They go out, they buy the snowmobiles, they go out, buy the motorcycles. The second home is it's not cash flowing. It's all about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Think about cash flow. How much cash could I keep coming in per month without working? That's wealth. See, being rich is having a lot of money. Having cash flow, I mean, yesterday my account made $574,000 with what's in my Goldman account, because we invested in the S&P 500. When I got into the S&P 500, it was 4,100. It's over 6,000 now. That was less than 2 years ago.
Well,
I got great people helping me, and I'm not bragging about that. Listen, end of the day, I'm not even close to where I want to be. I will consider myself successful when I'm at $1 million a day of cash flow coming in without me working. That's not including businesses. That's what and people will say, well, what's that going to do? Nothing. That's just what I decided. It doesn't do anything. It sets I got a massive family. My dad had 12 kids in his family. My mom has 5. Lots of cousins. I want to be able to help. I don't want to give anybody any money. I want to teach them how to fish. I want to help them invest in themselves. You know what I mean?
got it.
Yeah.
So what defines you? So you're obviously a business owner. I know you're a Christian. I know you do a lot of things. What defines you?
Well, I was talking about family, faith, fitness, and finance. And I think when my mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7, I decided I'm never going to let money get in the way of my life and my family, because I watched my mom and dad fall apart, argue about bills, scream at each other. So I said, I got to fix this. It's got to get out of the way. It took a long time. to never have money. No one gave me anything. And no one gave you anything. I didn't want anything. I'm happy nobody gave me anything. No one gave me a dime. No one paid for my college. Nobody said, here you go. My mom and dad got me in sports and they could buy me like clothes to wear to school. But as far as like, you're on your own, buddy. And I'm glad that happened. So what I would say is I had to go hard at the finance. Then I realized I need to get closer to God. I need to talk to my friends and family and call mom. And I need to get in shape. So, and then I got to work on my future self, which is education, reading books, podcasting, going to seminars, getting coaches. So I don't really know if anything necessarily defines me, but I will say I do try to pay it forward. I do try to help everybody out because I've been helped out a lot. And sometimes I'll tell you this, the hardest part of my life has been learning how to say no because I say yes to too many people and I'm screwing over my coworkers and my mom and dad and my sister and my niece and nephews and my girlfriend. When I say yes to somebody, I'm saying no to 10 other people. To be able to, but I don't like to be rude. I try to give somebody help me out. So I just say I'm paying it forward. But then I realized I didn't even make time for myself. So I don't really know what defines me. I'll just tell you guys right now, Dimitri, I give 110% at everything I do. I hate to lose. This little wristband right here says aspire to be number one. I don't know what second place is. Lance will probably say the same thing. I don't want to come in second place. There's no participation trophy. So I'm very hard on myself, so I get a little bit hard on my team. But I say, guys, listen, no one's going to be harder on anybody but me on myself. So just understand I'm trying to be nice to you. I'm trying to have gratitude. But I feel like we're in constant competition with everybody, and I can't change that.
Do you think it's healthy? I get criticized a lot. We have a workout on the beach this morning, 6 a.m. We have like 40 guys, and I did like lunges, plyometrics workout, and I did sprints. And I won. I beat everyone. We did like heats, and it was fun. Like I love competing. And I tore my hamstring. I'm limping now. Like 3 steps before the finish line, the final hit. So we're like, did 5 guys run, like two goes to the next hit, 3 out, and 3 steps left. Sharp pain. I still finished, and I got number 1. And it's important for me. Like I don't know, I'm the same way. But I all my life I've been criticized that I'm too competitive. I push people too hard. What do you answer to the critics who say you push people to their limits?
Well, I hear that from every entrepreneur. They call me up and they say, this is my downfall. I'm never happy. I'm never happy. And I'm like,
Gary Vee is like that. A lot of guys are like that.
even if you set the most massive record, you expect more out of yourself. It's just, I think there's times you got to slow down, smell the roses. Do you ever tell you're married?
Yeah.
How often do you tell your wife you love her?
All the time.
Like a couple times a day?
I don't know if it's a couple.
Maybe once a day.
Probably.
Just, okay, so
Yeah.
humor me here. So, do you ever argue? Have you ever argued with her before in your life?
Yeah.
When you argue with her, does she think you're that you hate her?
I don't think so.
Because you told her you love her a lot.
Yeah.
Probably way more than you argued with her. She knows you love her. Even though you might not agree and you might want to work on something. Well, when you have coworkers, you should probably tell them you love them more than you tell them they need to improve. Because then they know you got their back. You saw them doing something good. You caught them doing something right. But when you're all the time giving people negative criticism, but never giving them the positive, that's when you come off as an asshole. That's when they say, I'm never good enough for you. You've never given me a compliment. But I know this. I don't really criticize people. I don't tell them how good they're doing, but I'm trying very hard to 10x. Just catch them doing something right. Say how important they are. Say, listen, you matter to me. You're very impressive. I tell my guys, do you ever call the CSR and say, hey, that call, I murdered it. I did great. See, you call them only when you had a bad job. Why did you book that call? Do you ever call them when you do great? You ever tell the dispatcher how great they did? Do you ever say, man, I am so happy that I just, because here's what most people do. When it's great, I did it. When it's bad, they screwed it up. First thing you got to do real quick is if something goes wrong, look in the mirror and say, it's my problem. There's this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. I've never been in it. It's called AA.
Yeah.
First step is admitting you got a problem. You know what people do? They point these 2 fingers instead of pointing these 2 fingers. When you say, maybe it's me, and you say, look, I need to do a better job, that's the day everything changes.
Last one. I want to finish on actually last two if we have really quick. The fitness journey. Amazing transformation. Congrats.
Thanks.
I've heard you're from the States today, 26, 27% body
Yeah.
fat. Where are you at now?
I'm probably at 11. I haven't been to the DEXA scan, but I'm trying to get up to 250 pounds and cut down to 7%.
Impressive. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
that's what I think I can get.
What led to it, like, and how did it change? How important is it? Because so many people talk about it now, but it's truly, game changer for business owners.
That's not easy. I kind of cheat because I got a chef. I mean, I got the right doctor giving me the right supplements. I got Ashley that helps remind me, like, did you do 100 push? She'll count push-ups for me. I've got 2 trainers. Like, I've got the best of the best. But I'll tell you, what changed is one day my cousin called me and said, look in the mirror. She goes, the whole family's proud of you, but you don't look healthy. You don't look like you love yourself. And then I went on this boat with Travis Ringy, and he wasn't drinking at all. And the dude's pretty chiseled. And I was like, why don't you have a drink? He's like, no, I don't need that right now. I'm focused on being in the best shape. Like, I want to feel good. And then I saw Andy Elliott, and he pinched my fat. And he goes, hey. And I was like, he goes, I know you can do better than this. And then I saw Ishmael, one of my buddies, and he was getting in shape. And I'm like, if you could do it, asshole, I could do it. And it was like all these signs everywhere around me. I'm like, I need to do this. So I went to get the DEXA scan, and they told me I was obese. And that was like, I'm better than this. I got out of the shower every day and didn't even look in the mirror. I'm just like, I'm busy. I'm working. I'm building an empire. It just said, I came last. And then all of a sudden, I started getting in shape. I started walking 3 miles every morning, 2 miles every night. I started eating healthy, and all of a sudden, the brain fog went away. And all of a sudden, I looked in the mirror. All of a sudden, I walked in a room a little bit different. And I haven't felt that way in like 15 years. Now I walk in, and I'm like, yeah. And it just, I'll tell you, the clear mind, the belief in myself. And what I noticed, my COO just lost 45 pounds. Everybody in my company, together we've lost over 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
Literally changed the chain effect. If my desk is messy, my whole team's desk is messy. If I'm late to a meeting, they're allowed to be late to a meeting. If I'm parking in the handicap every day, they can park in the handicap. You lead by example. You lead from up front. When they said, well, why are you getting in shape? I walk in their office, none of the girls, the guys, and I take off my shirt. And I'm like, why not you? I'm like, I'm busier than you. And I just smile, and they're like, all right, get out of here, you creep.
It's contagious. Fitness is contagious.
It is.
What I noticed, like, I've traveled to like 150, 200 companies. Number one thing, I do interview with someone, we'll do the picture for the interview later. Number one thing, most man next to me, because, I do CrossFit for about 5-6 years, and not a bodybuilder or anything, but fit. And number one thing at the end is like, fuck, I'm fat. Because, camera exposes you.
Yeah.
If you do podcasts with it, and I've done it too, when like I'm sitting next to you and I'm like, shit, he's fitter than me. It motivates me to go work out a little bit more. But I'm that for many people. And number one comment from man is like, I'm rejoining gym tomorrow. I'm not gonna look like that anymore. They're embarrassed of the interview because they see the image. They see that, alpha, right? It's like, well, business is like, well, if this guy can, I can. Last question, man. Spiritual journey. How did you find Jesus? What led to it? How did your life change? What do you do for?
Yeah, so I was born, my dad was a born-again Christian. My mom grew up in Catholic church. I just had never gotten baptized. I think there's seasons of life where you grow closer to God and you kind of sometimes grow away. And, we just decided we're better off with Jesus in our lives. We started going to a church, and here's a few things. Number one is church is not supposed to make you feel bad. And so we found the right preacher, the right guy on stage. I mean, Travis Hearn, I got a podcast coming up with them. So I actually like the way I felt when I come out of church, where I didn't feel like I was being lectured and put down. Thou shalt not sin, you sinners. Yeah. It's like some people like to go get yelled at, and I didn't like that. So this guy's like, makes you feel good about it. And then me and Bree were there one day, and he asked if we wanted to be baptized. And I said, yeah, let's do it. But here's the real story that you should know about. My dad got COVID. He almost died. His oxygen fell to 50-some%. I fell to my knees. And my sister called and said, your dad's about to die. She calls up. it's both of our dads, but she always says your dad. And I go, it was the hardest drive I've ever been through. And I pound on the steering wheel and I'm praying. And I said, Jesus, if you let Dad live, I'll always, I will do anything. I will be a better steward of you. I will praise you. I will put it up for you. And I held my dad's hand, and he's sitting there barely holding on. And he says, I'm not ready to go, with a Bible on his chest. And I got a phone call a year later. And this guy goes, listen, I know you don't know me, but I'm not a messenger. I'm not a crazy guy. Like, listen, I promise you, I'm not a fortune teller. Did you make a deal with God? And I got goosebumps. And I go, yeah. And he goes, I don't know what it was, but were you on your hands and knees pounding something? And I go, and I've never told anybody this story. I go, yeah. He goes, listen, make sure you keep your promise, because just as quick as he gave it to you, he'll take it away. That's still. So anyways, me and my dad are better than ever. We're very close. And, I don't think he was metaphorically talking about taking his life, but just everything could crumble so quickly. Everything you worked hard for, build your treasures in heaven. I know one day we die. I don't think we're here by accident. I don't believe there's nothing. I don't know how that's possible. So I believe Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I exalt him. I think he's the one, that I owe everything to. And I think he had a plan for my life, and I'm just living it.
Do you feel like he's giving you the goals, like your goal is for $1 million a day, or your goal is to keep growing and to be number one? Do you think it comes from God?
Yeah, I think he says this. There's this story, and one day there's this guy, and he's in a hurricane. And the firemen come over, knock on the door, and says, we got to get you out of here. There's a hurricane coming. He goes, no. You don't know. Jesus is my Lord and Savior. He'll save me. Well, anyway, it starts pouring out. He goes to his second floor. A speedboat comes by, the life Coast Guard. Says, we got to get you out of here. You're going to drown. He goes, no. And he's kind of swimming on the second floor. He goes, Jesus is going to save me. Now the guy crawls up onto his roof. Helicopters drops down the stairs, ladder to get up. And they say, you better get on here. You're going to get blown away. There's a hurricane. You're going to die. He goes, no, not my Lord. You don't know Jesus. He'll save me. Anyway, the guy drowns, goes to heaven. He's talking to St. Peter, walks through the gates, talks to Jesus. He goes, why didn't you save me? He goes, what do you mean? I sent you the firemen, the Coast Guard, and the helicopter. So the point of that story is, sometimes you got to see he's trying to help us. You got to see the signs. You got to listen to your conscience. You got to listen to the Lord. Because a lot of people just say, why isn't God helping me? They're praying, but they're not doing any of the work. Lord, please help me to quit smoking. But every day, you're not supposed to. You keep reaching for it. You're not even trying. You just expect him to work a miracle out in my life, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to open up the signs. I'm not going to read the Bible. I'm not going to go to church. In the Bible, it says if you start ignoring your conscience, it'll go away. In my book, Home Service Millionaire, I talk about creative justification. I've had people steal from me and say, like, we used to get free keypads when we bought a certain type of opener. And they'd steal them. And they said, well, you get them for free anyway. I didn't get them for free. I bought a lot of units that 1 month we got them in our package. So they said, well, you get them for free, so it's not theft. And this is what I call, like, literally creative. People justify reasons of why they do stuff. People lock their doors at night to keep the good people out. Not the bad people are going to break in. But the good people are the ones that, their door is open. I could borrow this. So, yeah, no, I mean, where you're going is, I think people got to really listen and understand that if they're really religious and believe in Jesus, they should listen to the signs.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
It was amazing.
Pleasure. You're the man. This is a great event. Proud as the year.